Hi, this is Kanchana.
Hi Kanchana, this is Raman.
Sharma.
Yeah, Raman Sharma.
You are my
Hi,
tutor.
Raman. This is Trilok, and I also have the same question from my side. Even if I am login with my Gmail credentials, I am not able to find any previous recorded videos on my login credentials.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I'm a trainer here. Actually, these things are taken care by the DevOps support team.
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying to. Is Mantosh you there? Okay. So what Mantosh is saying that actually he's messaging me that he will provide you all guys these access after the meeting. Okay. So he will provide that access after the meeting.
Yeah, and for us, we already have the access, but we really want some links to specific for the course because there are like 1 million accesses, 1 million videos. We're just scrolling, going around in circles. We want some links to what is relevant for the course.
Okay. So probably means after this demo, you can contact DevOpsSchool that support people. So actually, they are messaging me on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they are
Please
saying that
ask them to have a walkthrough session. Yeah, let Mantosh open up like this WebEx session and like walk through what is relevant, what we should do, and yeah, that would be good. Thanks.
Yeah. So he's saying after the meeting he will
Okay.
I think after the meeting he will contact you all guys.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So I think I can start now. So first of all, let me introduce myself. This is Raman Sharma, and I am having around 19 years of experience in teaching as well as IT. So I worked in a lot of companies in past. Still I'm working. So I'm basically currently working as a DevOps engineer in HP, and my day-to-day activity basically to create this as a solution architect role. And I'm also working on a lot of DevOps tools like I work on Docker, I work on Kubernetes, Ansible. Sometimes I work with Puppet and Chef also, but very less. These days we are mostly working on the Ansible. But in past, when Ansible was not popular, at that time I was working on Puppet and Chef. Chef is more popular as compared to Puppet. But these days I'm working on Ansible and somewhat on the Terraforms. So today's demo or today's discussion will be on AWS, and where we will talk about some of the services which is provided by the AWS. And it is very important. It is very important if you are a DevOps engineer, you should know one of the cloud computing service, like either you should be aware of Azure, you should be aware of AWS, you should be aware of GCP or OpenStack, any of this. But the most popular one is AWS. And if you Google it, you can see more than 60% companies they are using AWS for the cloud computing. So this lecture is basically I will demonstrate some of the features of the AWS. Why AWS? We will walk through some of the theory, but mostly it will be practical session where I will show you what are the services or important. Not all services. This AWS has more than I think 1,000 services now. They started with a single service, but as the time goes and company demands or user demands, so the demand goes on and they keep adding on the services. So we will touch base some of the important services, which is very helpful if you are a DevOps engineer. You should know that, because in real-time scenario, basically what happens when you apply the DevOps tools, you apply on the physical data center, but most of the time now these days or in future, you are going to work on one of the cloud computing, and today we are going to discuss about the AWS. Anyone has any question, any doubt related to today's agenda? All right, so I take no. So
No, actually, he told me that they have been working for 19 years, but some of my friends told me that before 4 5 years, they worked for Smash. So you
your
can't be
voice
able
is not
to.
clear. Your voice is not clear.
Hello. Actually, you introduced yourself as you have been working as 19 years experience as a DevOps engineer, isn't it?
No, no, no. That is not possible actually, because
Yeah,
19 years
that's what
of
I'm asking.
experience in DevOps is not a that much old. It
Uh,
is old,
it is
but
five
if
5 years older.
right, 5 6 years old. So
Yeah.
actually, I was a developer earlier. So I was working on .NET and Java.
Okay.
Then I moved to Java is also open source. Then I moved to open source like Python. I was developing programs in Python. Then I
Okay.
got the
Okay.
opportunity of a solution architect in my company. So
Okay.
from last 10 years, I'm with HP only. So
Uh,
there I was. I actually when I joined HP at that time I was a developer. I joined as a developer, Java developer. Then I moved my
oh.
career to Python, and now
Okay.
Python, Python is just skyrocketing, rocketing your career, right? These days, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Uh,
it's really very, even AWS, you can use a module which is in the Python, that is Boto 3. By using that, we can automate the AWS services as well. Okay,
okay. Thank you.
so
Thank you so much. That's why I got
no, I have
some confusion.
total experience 19 years,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
not
Thank
in DevOps.
you.
Okay, so let's start. So actually, AWS has certain certifications, and the certification which is the entry level of certification, or which is very popular as a solution associate architect, means if you go, there is a combo, you can say, AWS solution associate architect plus DevOps. So this is the job requirement these days. So if we talk about the AWS, so there is a, let me open my GitHub account. Okay, so this is kind of a exam pattern where you have a multiple choice question. Type is associate. You need to go to the testing center and take the exam. The exam duration is 130 minutes, and the cost is 150 USD dollar. And language, it is available in the English, Japanese, Korean, and simplified Chinese. So when you are going to take that exam, before that, what the ability you have, you should be effectively demonstrate the knowledge how to architect and deploy secure and robust application in AWS technologies. Define a solution using architectural design principle based upon the customer requirement, and provide implementation guidance on which implement based on the best practices of the organization throughout the life cycle of the project. Okay, so this is basically the solution associate architect people they do, and before taking that exam you should be capable of this. So now I'm not going in detail because it's a demo, so we will have some practical session and we will see some of the services. So let me just first go to my AWS account. So the official website for the AWS is aws.amazon.com. So AWS full form is Amazon Web Service. So anyone of you has the account in AWS? Anyone of you?
Yes, I have an account at AWS.
You have an account, great. Anyone else? Okay. So see, basically, let me first explain you what is AWS and why we need to create an account. So if I talk about, let me open my notepad. What is data center? What is data center?
In which all the data can be stored
Yeah, so where basically we have
and
the physical
managing the data.
right. So basically we have the physical data, physical servers, right? Where our application is running, right? Or our database is having the data. Okay. Now you have a, one data center. Say an example, there is a small level company where we have, um, uh, you know, where we have the 10 computers or 10 servers, where we have the 10 servers, and these 10 servers, so say an example, this is your system, this is your office or the building or the room where these 10 servers are. We have these 10 servers into this room, right? And for this room, you need to pay the rent or you need to buy it. So say an example, you are paying the rent. Okay. Now, if there are 10 systems or 10 servers, one server costs say 100 or not hundreds, I'll say more than $1,000, right? So if there are 10, so 10 into 1,000. So it means you need to pay this much amount to buy these servers, right? Which is $10,000. You need to pay the rent. For maintenance of these servers, you need to have the system engineers, right? You have the, so let me write it here. So we need to pay the rent, right? And we need to have the system engineers. We need to have the network engineers. Okay, we need to maintain the room and servers. So there are some miscellaneous charges, right? Or expense, miscellaneous expense. So overall, if you are the owner of the company, then you have to take care of all these things. But now there is a solution architect from the cloud computing. He approaches you. So we make a cloud. Okay, so this is say AWS. So one AWS consultant comes to you and he says, you need not to maintain these 10 systems here. You can migrate to the AWS. So these 10 systems, whatever 10 systems, why I am having this 10 system? Because I want to maintain the data. I want to maintain the application. I want to keep my business running. I need to keep support my customer. So what this AWS consultant is saying, you are paying the rent, you are paying to system engineers, you are paying to network engineers, and there are some AC charges or cleaning room charges. All these can be reduced if you move this your data center to AWS. Okay, so when you are moving this data center to AWS, you are paying whatever you are using. So what will be the benefit? So if I migrate data center to AWS, what will be the benefits? Number one, I need not to buy the systems. I'm talking about 10 systems. It could be 100 systems. Systems, or more technical term, I will say servers. Okay. So need not to buy the servers. Second, here you are paying to the system engineers. As the number of servers get increased into your data center, you need more system engineers. You need more network engineers. But what AWS says, you give that responsibility to us, and we are going to maintain the servers. We are going to maintain the networking. We need some solution architect from your team who can help you to keep the track, or provide the services of AWS to your company. So say an example, you want to use the storage, then there will be a solution architect who is basically helping you to store the data into the AWS storage, say S3. So in that case, basically what we are doing, we are hiring one solution architect, or two solution architect, or three solution, depending upon the number of systems you need. But believe me, if you need the 10 system, if you have 10 systems which you need to maintain on AWS, you need one solution architect. If you need to maintain 100 systems, probably you again need one architect. But yes, if the number of projects increase, and the projects are divided into the multiple layers, then you need the multiple solution architect. Otherwise, one solution architect is enough. That solution architect, these days companies are expecting that he is a network engineer as well. Means he knows the networking, he maintains the system, he will be a system engineer first of all, solution architect, and network engineer. So because if we talk about the AWS world, in that case there is complication is very less. In real world, you need to take care of switches, router, so many things. But here you are just need to take care how to create a virtual private cloud, or a data center. So data center in AWS we call VPC, virtual private cloud. And most of the thing which we do manually is taken care by the AWS, and it is a robust solution. Chances of failure is 0.0001%. Okay, so that is why now if you are a company owner, then you definitely move your data from your data center to AWS. It is not only applicable to small or medium level companies, it is applicable to the large scale of companies as well. So most of the companies now, their data or their data centers are now migrating to the AWS. Some of the companies, they want to see the POC, proof of concept. Say an example, you are a little bit afraid, or your company is little bit afraid to move the data to the AWS, because for you data is everything. If I move my data to AWS, whether that is secure, whether tomorrow if AWS is shut down, where will be my data? So trust me, it will never happen. Okay, so they need to do some proof of concept. So they hire the solution architect or some engineers to prove it that the things which we are doing is possible the way we are thinking. Our data is secured, our data is not hacked by someone else, data is encrypted, data is secured, my applications which I am running, I can access from anywhere. So these things are basically matters for a business. Secondly, So say an example, you have your data center and you have, say, we will take an example of 10 servers, and suddenly your business grows and you need a lot of traffic comes to your servers. At that moment, you are basically need some more system, because your 10 servers are not enough to handle the customer traffic. You need, say, 5 more system. Okay, so 5 more system, you bought it. After that, your business is seasonal. Say an example, it is say in 6 months it is very high, and other 6 months it is moderate or low. During that time, when your business is low, at that time you need hardly 2 or 3 systems. But when the business is on the high stage, at that time you need minimum to minimum 15 systems. But if you have your own data center, then you need to keep that 15 systems into your data center, and you need to maintain it, or someone in your team has to maintain it. But what AWS says, you give us the authority for the auto scaling. So what is auto scaling? Auto scaling is a process. If you need 15 system, AWS gives you the 15 system, and you need to pay for the 15 systems. And if you are using only 2 systems, then you are paying for 2 systems only. And that concept we call auto scaling. So when you need more system, auto scaling up. When you need less system, this is called auto scaling down. So it means you are going to use the AWS services and you are paying as per your requirement. So this is a some introduction related to the AWS. Anyone has any question?
So Raman, are you going to talk about security later? Because that's one of the major concerns. I don't think you covered that.
Security is basically not the part of this syllabus, the one
Okay.
which I am going to discuss.
Okay.
But networking is there. So see, security is basically not 100%, yes, but almost 30 to 40% we will cover, where we will discuss that. Say an example, you have a data center, and in that data center you have some servers which are having public access. So say an example, your web servers, and some servers which has the private access. So private access means like your database that should not be accessed by the outside the world. So in that case, we are going to discuss some security level there, and we are going to discuss about the policy level security, which is not the basically the security, but that is the permission level of things. So say an example, you are a user and you are a developer and I am a implementer, and you need some different access. I need some different access. You need programmatic access. I need the console level access. So that kind of little bit security, but yes, the main security level is not the part of the solution, and it does not come into the solution associate architect, etc.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, what we are going to do here, we are going to discuss about the entry level of the AWS, and where we are going to talk about if you are a DevOps engineer and you are a solution architect, then what kind of solution you are going to provide. Okay, anyone else has any question?
Raman, I have one question.
Yeah, Trilok, tell me.
Yeah. What is the limitations on auto scaling? Like, is there any maximum threshold limit? Is there?
Yes. So there is a limit. So actually, there is a table which is provided by the AWS not only for the auto scaling. So say an example, you want to create the number of instances, and in a VPC, how many servers or side range you can create. So there is a AWS has given one table. So I will share that table with you. So there you can find, and it is again, actually it is almost limitless, because there is a limit. After that you need to pay more.
Okay.
That is the thing. So say an example, you are saying I need 100 servers, but now your
Okay.
requirement is 150.
Mhm.
So we define the threshold limit as 100, and after 100, if more servers are required, then I need to pay accordingly. So
Okay.
every service is associated with a price, and that price is basically it is mentioned in their services. So I will show you that means what is the price for each service. So there means, because you as a solution architect, you need to also take care of the budget. So company, when they are spending something on AWS, they need to uh, secure their data, as well as they need to take care of the price as well.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else has any question? Okay. So let me move ahead. Okay. So now, before going to use the service, what we need to do? We need to create an account in AWS, and it is very easy. So I already have the account, and AWS gives you the account, means you can use some of the services free of cost for 1 year. So for 12 months you can have the some of the services which is free of cost. Okay. So here, if you go to aws.amazon.com, so I will give you this URL. Okay. So this URL is basically the official URL, and here, okay, so if you already have the account, actually it takes that data from the cookies, and it will not ask to create the account. So I just clicked on that button, sign into console, and you see create a new AWS account. But in your case, if you are opening first time, then you will find that on the corner you will find where I clicked it, it will be create a new AWS account. So you need to click on that. Okay. So here what you need to do, you can see AWS accounts include 12 months of free tier access. So there are some services, not all, but most of the services are free tier. So for 12 months, and you need to provide your debit or credit card details, and don't worry, it is safe. They will not charge. Why they are asking that debit or credit card details? Because sometimes if you overuse the services of the AWS, so say an example, you can use 30 GB of the space on instance level, and if you use more than that 30 GB, you need to pay for that. There are 750 hours in a month of a particular machine you can use. Not a particular machine, means a set of machines. But if you cross that 750 hours, you need to pay. So what AWS says that your if it is less than 10,000 Indian rupees, then they have a right to take it from your credit card or debit card. But I did not see. Once my account, it goes up to somewhere 2,000 Indian rupees, and they just sending me the mail, and I change my credit card also. Means now I am having the different credit card, and they did not charge. But they are saying that if it is less than 10,000 Indian rupees, then they have a authority to charge. So that's why they basically ask you for the debit or credit card details. So on this page, you can see this is the first page where you need to enter the email address, password, confirm password, and the account name. Account name is basically always appear on the top right corner of your AWS page. So your email address should be unique. Password is up to you. So, and the AWS account name, whatever the name you want to give. So this you need to do yourself because my account is already created. So I'm not going to create, but in your case, you need to enter these details and click on the create. Once you click on the create, it will come to the next page, and the next page will ask about your personal detail, your address, your phone number. So why it asks that phone number and address? Address is actually it's a mandatory part, but I'm not sure why they ask for the address. But phone number is mandatory because you will get a verification call. Okay, and you need to provide it is up to you. You want to provide the professional details or personal details. So if you choose the professional detail, then unnecessarily you need to tell that in which company you are working, what is your account, that PAN number. In India, it is PAN number, which is related to your tax. So I would prefer to go with the personal details where you need not to provide all this information. It will ask your phone number and the address. The next page will be where you need to enter the credit card details or debit card details, and that costs you 1 rupee, 1 Indian rupee, 1 or 2 Indian rupees, and that get refunded immediately also. So that basically verifies that the card number which you have entered is correct or not. And in the end, you will have one screen where it will ask which account you want to create. So there will be a option which is basic or free account. So you need to select the free account unless you are interested to create you want to use all the services related to AWS. But I would prefer, if you are in the learning stage, better to go with the free account. So you need to select free account. You will get one verification email, and it will take means almost 3 to 4 hours to create your account. So this is very simple steps. It is just a wizard where you are just entering the detail, like other websites where you enter your sign up process. So same way you need to use the same method is used for the AWS account creation. Okay, so once you have the basic or free account, then they are saying 24 hours, but they create it within 3 to 4 hours time. So once you have that account, then what you can do, you can go to the aws.amazon.com. Okay, so here now it is showing me complete sign up process because it takes the data from the cookies. So I will go to the AWS management console. So from my account, okay, so I need to enter my username. This is my username. I need to enter the password, whatever the password you have used to create the account. Okay, so I have one more authentication level, which is the multi-factor authentication. How to do that I will show you. And here I need to install a application on my mobile, that is Google Authenticator. So I'm using that one. So it gives me a number. So I need to enter that number, and that number is keep changing. And this is the management console. AWS management console is nothing but your basically the GUI which you want to use for your AWS services. Give me a second, actually I need to bring my charger. Yeah. So this is basically my graphical user interface for my AWS. We call it AWS Management Console. Now here you can see services. So here basically all the services which is provided by AWS is here. If you want to see in the group, you are basically seeing in the group. If you say A to Z, so it is alphabetically in order, but better to use in the group. So they basically group the services in the, so say an example, compute, they are saying EC2, ECS, EKS, storage S3, EFS, right? And analytics. So in AWS, lot of things are happening. Machine learning, deep learning, EMR, DevOps. AWS also has its own DevOps tools, but it is always preferable to go with the generic tools because AWS tools are only made for the AWS. So say an example, tomorrow if your company is going to use Azure, they may use Kubernetes, Ansible, but if you are going to use CloudFormation, which is one of the AWS tool, it is same as the configuration management tool, then it is only for that AWS, not for the Azure. So better to learn the generic DevOps tools and AWS as a solution architect. Okay, so here you can see there are a lot of services are available, and if you know any of the service, you can search it here. So say an example, you want to search S3, so you can do a searching here. On the left hand side, you can see history. History means the services which you have recently used. That service you can see it here. So I was giving the demo to someone of IAM, EC2, S3. So that's why you can see these services on my left hand side. And other services, you can see there are a lot of services are available. And it is not necessary for a solution architect to know all these services. There are few services which is like EC2, S3, VPC, IAM. So these are the services which is as a solution architect you should know, or as a DevOps engineer you should know. Anyone has any question? All right. Okay. So now, how many of you know about the VMware? Anyone knows?
Yeah, we know what it is. We know the definition,
Yeah.
and we know.
So have you ever used means someone has created VMwares or
Yeah,
virtual machine,
yeah,
Yeah, I've created
for
VM.
test environments.
right? So virtual machines means in case if you are a developer or if you are only working on the ready-made machines, then for your practice purpose you can create the virtual machines by using VirtualBox, which is given by Oracle or VM workstations. So okay, so you know what is virtual machine or VMware, right? So can anybody tell me if I want to create a Linux box, say Red Hat or Ubuntu or SUSE, Kali, how much time it will take? If I give you a responsibility to create a VMware or virtual machine, Red Hat, how much time it will take with
Say,
minimal configuration?
few hours, provided you have the right tools.
Few
Right,
minutes.
Yeah,
few minutes.
couple of hours. So
Yeah, we
I
have.
think I think hours, not minutes.
yeah,
If you are using because you need to install the operating system, right, which takes time.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. I'm thinking about creating from AWS. Sorry.
No, not AWS. I'm talking about VMware and virtual machine.
Yeah,
So it will
VMware,
take
it will take hours because he has to install all the operating system.
right. So if you means when we were talking about the physical server, if I talk about somewhere 10 years before or 10 years ago, at that time most of the servers were physical servers. Okay, so your data, your applications, everything was running on the physical servers, which is basically physical data center.
hello, I'm good, thanks.
One second. So so it was very difficult because if you want to use a machine, on that machine should have Linux servers installed, Red Hat 5.7, 5.4, or if it is Windows 2000 server. And it is, for a system engineer, it is a very hectic job to prepare a server for the application or for a project. But then VMware or virtual machine world came. On one machine, you have multiple systems, right? Multiple systems or operating systems. So you have one machine. On that machine, you are having uh, your web server, your database servers. So that make the life very easy. But now with the AWS, you can if I talk about the physical data center, at that time it takes days to create to prepare a physical system, but in VMware it is hours. Now in AWS world it is in minutes. Okay, so in AWS we basically going to create the EC2, which is elastic cloud compute. So with the help of that, what we can do, we can create the Linux box, we can create the Windows box, Windows servers, okay, Linux servers. And you cannot create the Mac because of some license issue. But these two machines we can create. And let me show you where you can see. So if you see, this is the compute EC2. If I go over here, and okay, my one is, so this is the EC2 dashboard. And if I go and click on instances, So my one instance is running, which I can terminate. So I'm going to terminate this. So I will create a fresh machine, and you can count how much time it will take. First, I will explain you. So it may take time because I'm explaining the how to create the EC2 instance. But once you know all the steps, it will be in minutes only. So say an example, you want to create a Red Hat machine. So first you need to click on the launch instance. Okay. And here you can see lot of machines available, and you need, if you are using the free tier account, you need to use free tier eligible. You can select this. This is Amazon Linux. I want to create a Red Hat. So this is the Red Hat tier. So you can see the description here, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. So this is the latest version of the Red Hat, which is 8. And it is having the SSD volume type and other configuration. You can see it. We will see it here. So I'm going to select it. Okay, so the configuration you can see it here. So if you have the free tier account, then better to use the T2 Micro, which is showing the free tier eligible account. But if you have the paid account, then you can, it depends upon your system. So here you can see CPU, there will be one CPU. Memory is 1 GB and it's a EBS volume, and network performance is low to moderate, and it supports IPv6. So IPv6 is basically your IP range, okay, which is the next generation IP range where version 6 support, but mostly we use the IPv4. So if IPv4 version is number of IP addresses are over, then we can go with the IPv6. But in our example, we are going to use only IPv4. So you need, if you select something else here, then you need to pay. It will be chargeable for you. So, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to select the free tier eligible. Then you need to click on the next. Here, basically you define how many instances you want to create. I want to create 1 instance, 2 instance, 10 instance. So all 10 are Red Hat, then you can say 10 here. Okay, but I'm going to create only 1 at this time. Okay, other options I'm not going in detail, we will come back to this. And I'm clicking on the storage. So storage is basically your hard disk. So this is the device, and it will take 10 GB space, which is the minimal space for the Red Hat 8. And now I'm clicking on the next add tags. So add tag is basically you are going to give some tag. So one of my favorite tag is name. So you want to give the name to your Red Hat. So I will say Red Hat server. Next is the security group. So security group is basically kind of your firewall, and which basically restrict outside traffic to your machine. So here for Linux machine, we need SSH connectivity. Okay, so those who are familiar with the Linux box, they know that SSH is basically the there is a SSH server we need to install on the server, and we need to use the SSH client to connect to that SSH server. And for that we have PuTTY is one of the SSH client, and we will use that PuTTY, and there are other methods also by which we can connect with the by which we can connect to the server. So SSH is required. Okay, but Now, say an example, your server is a web server. So for web server, which port is to be opened? For web server, if it is HTTP. So if you want to port 80, very good. And for HTTPS, for the HTTPS,
493.
no. That is 443. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So now, yes, yeah, Vijay, correct. So say an example, this is the SSH and port 22 is to be opened. So what is the meaning of port basically? So say an example, if I say this is a center, and in this center you have this is your classroom, and this classroom number is 22. Okay, and there are other rooms are also there. Say this is room number 80 and this is room number 443. Okay, so you are allowed. So if I say SSH, so it means if someone is, so if this address is given, which is 000, it means for everyone. So anyone can connect to this this server. So this is my complete server through port 22. Means you are allowed to go into the room 22 even though this center is having 443 room and 80 room, but you cannot go inside this. But now one of the student is saying I get enrolled for the some other course for which I need to go to the room number 80. So then I will open one firewall and I will allow that user to go to the room number 80. So that room is nothing but your ports. So this is your port. So now this is my server. This is my Linux box. And here in the Linux box, secured shell, I need to install one server, which will basically open the port 22 for HTTP port 80 and HTTPS 443. So this client which wants to connect to this server on port 22, he should have the SSH client. Okay, so here I should have the SSH client on my laptop or the machine where I want to connect to this server. And the most famous is the PuTTY. So those who are using Linux or Unix, they know what is PuTTY. Okay, so now if you want to add some more rules, you need to click on this add rule. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this and I will say I want to use the HTTP for everyone. Port 80 is to be opened. I want to add one more rule. I'll say for HTTPS, which is 443. And if you want to create a new group, okay, so you can say here the group name. So you want to say web server security group. Okay, description, whatever the description you want to give. So similar way, I have already created that. So next time, what is the use of saving this group? Next time, if I want to create another instance and I want to give the similar security group, then I need not to create again. Clicking on add rule, I can use the existing one. So I already have EC2 web server. So I'm selecting this. Next is the review and launch. So before launching it, it basically show you the settings which you have made. So are you okay with that? I'm saying yes and launch it. Okay, so when you connect with the AWS instance, so basically what happens? So this is your AWS instance or server. Here it will have one public key. which is having the extension PEM. You need to download this key. One thing, you need the SSH client. Second thing, you need this public key. So that you need to download on your system to connect to the server. Okay, so you need two things. One thing is the SSH client PuTTY, and second thing is the public key. In the PuTTY, basically what you need to do, this public key, you need to, and this is the public key. If you don't have, you need to select the public key from here. You need to say create a new key pair, and you need to give the key pair name, and you need to download it, and you need to keep it some directory where you can which you can remember it. But I already have this. Okay, so this is the public key. Now this public key, PuTTY has to create a private key, which is PPK file. Now when you are connecting to this server, you are providing this private key also, and it has the public key. So there is a handshake happen, and once this handshake happen, then you can connect to this server, and we will see how to create that. Okay, so I already have this key, so I'm selecting, I acknowledge that I have access to this key, and launch instance. Okay, so now it is launching. You can click on the view instances. So one server I already terminated, and now this is running. The tag name, you can change the name here by clicking on this and click on this tick mark, but I am not changing it. So now it is in the pending state. So once it is in the running state, then we can connect it. Meanwhile, anyone has any question? Okay, so you can see my machine is ready. And down here, you can see there is a public IP address given to this, and there is a public and private IP addresses given. So the difference between public and private addresses are that public IP addresses are public IP address is basically used by outside the world, and private IP is used for the internal network. So say an example, you have two instances and they want to communicate to each other, then you will use the private IP addresses, and private IP addresses never change, and public IP addresses keep getting changes whenever you are rebooting the server. Okay, so why it happens, that we will see in the detail, but as of now you just keep in your mind that public IP addresses get changed whenever you are rebooting the server, and private IP addresses are remain constant. So now next, I want to connect to this server, and I can connect with the help of the public IP address, or we can connect with the public DNS name. So I'm selecting this public IP address, copy. Okay, what you need to do, you need to go to the website putty.org, and you need to download the PuTTY. Okay, if you are using Windows 64-bit, just download this .msi version, and then it will be, it's a setup, one setup will be downloaded, and you need to just install it. It's a very simple process. There is no much intelligence is required for that. Just next you need to use. Once it is installed, then on your application window, you can see PuTTY is installed. But before going to PuTTY, you need to click on the PuTTY gen. Okay, because we need to create the PPK file. So PPK file is basically used for the private key. So to use the private key, to create the private key, first what we need to do, we need to click on the load, and you need to select here all files, and you need to select your PEM file, the PEM file which we have created while creating the instance, right? So I have that. This is the putty key. Where is my PM? Here. Yeah. So you can see this is Virginia key.pem file. So I need to select open. Okay. So this is my private key get created. Okay. So what you need to do, you need to click on save as the private key. Okay. So you say yes, and you need to save it here. I already saved it. Okay. So I'm not doing that, but in your case, it will be saved with the PPK file. So let me repeat one more time. You need to click on the load. You need to select your PEM file. And once it is loaded, then save as the private key. Once it is done, then what we need to do, we need to go and select the putty. So you need to go to the putty application. The host name. Actually, what happens, every instance in the AWS has certain username by which you are going to connect. So that username for the Red Hat is EC2 user. So you are selecting EC2 hyphen user @ your IP address. So my IP address is, which is my public IP address basically, not the private, public IP address, and paste it here. And then if you want to change the appearance, means font and anything, so it is 10 is, which is very small. So I will select say 14 or 12, 14 is fine. Okay. Now here SSH. So in the SSH you need to select authorization and click on browse. You need to select your private key, which is the, in my case, this is the private key, open, and click on the open. So it will ask about some message, just press yes. Now I'm connected to my server. So with the help of the putty and the private key, I'm able to connect to my server. So if you say, if you want to run, so as a root user, you can say sudo su. So I'm connected with the root user. And if I say ls pwd, if you are a Linux, if you know the Linux, then you can run all the commands. You can install your Ansible, you can install your Kubernetes, Docker, whatever you want to install. You need not to depend upon your virtual machine. So you can use this server whenever you want to destroy it, terminate it. Whenever you want to start it. When you want to stop it. So now actually, say an example, there is a requirement that AWS machines are required for the development of a project. Then you can create the machines and you can verify whether that machines are available or not. Anyone has any question? So
Please provide any recording for us if we missed the class.
right, so I'm recording the session. So these steps, yeah, because these steps may not be, until, because first you need to create the account, and these steps you may miss one of the step, then it will not work. So I'm having a recording of this.
Okay. How can we access that?
That probably, actually for me, it is the first time I'm just taking this class for this institute,
Okay.
and I think that the support team will help you in that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So now if you are a Linux person, you can go and you can use this AWS. And now there are different ways you can stop this. You can go to the actions, select your machine first, and go to stop, reboot, terminate, whatever you want to do. So if I say stop, now you can see there is a message. Remote side is network connection is closed because I closed that, and now it is stopping. Same way you can create the Windows machine as well. So if I go to the AWS and if I see down here, you can see Windows 2019. That is very hi-fi configuration and text. So we'll take the Windows 2008 or 12. 16 is also there. Okay, we'll take this one. Free tier eligible. So we'll take this one. And I will say select. Okay, free eligible. Next. Add storage. So it takes 30 GB. Okay, add tag. I will add tag later. And for this, SSH is not required. Here is the RDP. Okay, remote desktop. So this, if you want to add some more rule, you can add it. And I'll say review and launch, launch. And I'm using the same key and launch instance. Okay, so now let me terminate this one. So terminate means it is totally you're destroying that server. So I'm destroying this server and I want to give this server as a Windows server. Win server 2012. Okay, so this is my server name. So now I want to connect to a Windows machine. So now it is in the running stage. See how much time it take. It did not take more than 1 minute. So sometimes it is really very fast. So now to connect to this, you need to select this. You need not to have the putty for this. Putty is only for the Linux boxes. So this is the 2012. You click on connect. Okay. And here you need to download the remote desktop. Okay. So RDP is downloaded. Get the password. So here you need to select your PEM file to get the password. So my password is in that key I need to select basically to get the password. So this is the password. You can decrypt the password, and this is the password. Click on these two copy symbol, copy it, and now open your RDP. Okay, connect. Here I need to give the password. Okay, click OK. Okay. So now I'm connecting to my Windows server. Just wait. machines. So see you within 5 minutes, my server is up. My server is created as well as I'm starting that server. So my server is created. Now, whatever you want to do with this server, say an example, you want to install IaaS, you want to install your applications, you want to install your database. So everything you can do it over here. And if you want to come out, you can. So you say an example, this is PowerShell. I'm opening the PowerShell, some PowerShell commands. And if you want to log off, simply say log off. Okay, you are signing out. And if you want to terminate this, go and terminate it. So in these demos, basically I have shown you how to create the Linux box and how to connect, and in other how to create a Windows box and how to remotely connect it. Anyone else has any question?
So Raman, are you saying that we should also go and open an account and try installing servers? Like, can we do like that or what?
Yes, that is free of cost for 12 months. But you need to just take care of the thing. So, say an example, here I have created one instance, and that if it consumes 30 GB of space, then you need no means it will be chargeable for you.
Okay, so we have to be.
Yeah, so there is a limit for the free account. So, say an example, 750 hours in a month you can use for the free instance. Means if you keep it running, so that hours will be calculated, and it will be
Okay.
so total hours is 750 hours, and on second is that 30 GB space you can use. So
So
if
where
you
30? Where can I see the space? Is it here showing somewhere?
so if you see, actually now it is, I terminated all this, but when you
Okay.
create during that time it asks that storage space 10 GB,
Oh, okay.
30 GB. Okay, so if you cross 30 GB, even though it is, if your instance in the stop state, but the space is counted.
So will they give you a warning or they straight away charge your credit card?
Actually, they no, for that they will give you the warning.
Okay.
And even sometimes what happens, they adjust that amount as well. So say an example, most of the time it happens with me because I take the classes. So sometimes my 750 hours crosses or more than 30 GB I cross that.
Okay.
And or sometimes I use RDS, that is one of the relational database system.
Okay.
And so one time I got somewhere 4,000 Indian rupees. So then I called them. I just told them that I was unaware that it cost. So they adjust the amount.
Okay.
So in that case, what you need to do, you need to just go to this support and you need to open a case in the support center.
Okay. Okay. So IP version, one last question. IP version 6, is it being used now or?
So so far, actually, in our company also, we are not using it.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
what
are
it
still
started some
using
10 years ago, but I
IPv4.
don't think many people are using 6.
Right, so because that is 128 bits, so which is very large and
Yeah.
different IP,
Yeah.
format.
Very complicated.
So,
Yeah. No problem.
right.
Thank
So
you, Raman.
mostly, Mostly we use the IPv4 only.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone is using IPv6.
Yeah, we studied 10 years ago, more than that, 20 years ago.
Right, right. So here you can see I have created some of the keys.
Once we are terminating the server, the space which was occupied is getting reduced, isn't it?
Freed up. Yes, it is
Yeah.
freed up. So that calculation you need to take care. Actually, you can create a budget also. So if you say that if my budget is more than $2, I need to be get notified. So that also we can do. So that I will show you how to do that. But here, in case if you want to adjust your amount, you just create a case. So I went to the support, and here you can only use this option, account and billing support. Okay, here you need to select your free tier account, which is for billing, and here free tier. You need to give the description, and you can select one option which is phone. So they will call you. So better to use the phone one and give your country phone number. So they most of the time they immediately call you, and you can just tell the situation that I was unaware of that this service is chargeable. So can you adjust the amount? And they just say, okay, next time take care of all these things. You say yes, I will take care, and you can just they will just adjust the amount. Okay, so that is all about EC2 as of now. But EC2 is we will use one more time. We'll connect to the S3 also. So next one which I want to demonstrate here is the storage. So storage is basically simple storage service we call S3. So because 3S comes, simple storage service, that's why we call it S3. So if you see under the storage, we have S3. So storage means where your data gets stored. In AWS, the storage of data is little bit different from the traditional one. The reason is that here it stores the data in the form of blocks or in the form of object. So in S3, basically we create the buckets, and okay, so before S3, I think better to use the IAM. So I want to first go with the security. So I think someone was asking securities to be covered. So I was saying that some part, so like IAM. So we create the security by using IAM, Identity Access Management. So here, basically, what we are doing, we are going to create the accounts. So let's take one scenario, or shall we take 15 minutes break, and we will come back and talk about the IAM.
Yeah, sure.
Let's take
Meet at
15 minutes.
12:30. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So we'll take a 15-minute break and then we'll come back. Okay, I'm back. Let's wait for 2 minutes. Okay, so now let us talk about the IAM. So IAM is nothing but your identity access management. So identity and access management is basically in AWS. So let's take one scenario. There is a project, and in that project there are different teams are working. A team which is a developer team and the other team. So let me just write down. So as an example, there is a project, and in that project there are some developers and there are some testers and there are some implementers. Okay. So these teams are working into that project for that project, and the project manager comes to you and he asks you to create the users for developer group. Those having the S3. S3 is basically for storage, read and write access. And these users cannot connect with the console. They can have only the programmatic access. Okay, so this is the requirement one. Second requirement is testers can have only read-only access to S3. Okay, so they have the read-only access. And third is the implementer can access the console and only EC2 instances. Okay, so implementers have the console access and only the EC2 service they can access it. No other services, means they cannot access the S3 service. So this is the scenario, and you as a solution architect, you have to provide a solution to the team so they can use these services, AWS services. So for that, what you will do, you will create the IAM groups. Okay, so you will create the groups. So you will create 3 groups, one group for the developers and other group is for testers. So there could be more than one developers. That's why I'm creating a group. And the implementer. So a user can be a part of a single group or multiple groups. Okay, so I'm going to define some policies on these groups. So for tester, implementer, and developer. So for this purpose, what I need to do, I need to create the IAM groups and users. So let us see how to do that. So if you go to IAM, and here you can see groups. So I already created some groups. So let me delete these groups. And I have users as well. So I have deleted all the users and groups which I have created earlier. Now I'm creating the groups first. So I will click on create groups, and I need to give the group name. Here I'm giving developers. Now here basically you are defining the policies. Policies are nothing but the permissions. So I want to, for the developers, I want to give the read and write access proper policy for the S3. So here if you type S3, so you can see all the policies related to S3. So I want to give the Amazon S3 full access. Okay, next step. So this policy, create group. Now I want to create one more group, which is for the tester. Okay, for tester, we will have the read-only access. Again, I will search for the S3 because I want to give the read-only access. Okay, create group. Next, I will create a group which is called implementer. And for that, I need the EC2. So EC2 full access and create the group. Okay, so I have created 3 groups, and these 3 groups has policies associated with it. Okay, now I want to go to the users. Now I want to create the users. So say an example, there is a user called dev1, which is a developer. Okay, and I want to give the programmatic access only. So they cannot log in, and they cannot uh, they cannot connect to the console of AWS, but they will have the programmatic access. So what is the programmatic access? Means they can connect through the programming language like uh, Java, Python, .NET, right? Or there are some commands which is related to AWS, and these commands we run it on the AWS CLI, command line interface. So either of these method, they can access the AWS services. So I want to give only the programmatic access, not the console. If you want to give the console access, you can click on this, but I don't want to give the console access. Next permission. So I need to select the group. So I want to use the developers group for this. Tag, if you want to add some tag, it is up to you, but I'm not adding. And create user. So once this user get created, you need to download this CSV file because it has the unique access identity to that user. So say an example, this is developer 1, and when this developer 1 is going to access the service with some user ID, right, username or password, so that AWS should know that this user is connected. So for that, there is a access key and the secret key. So better to download this. So I'm downloading, and I will just check where it is downloaded, this. So I will cut it and I will save it into some folder. So let me remove, these are the existing one, and I will paste it here. Okay, I will call it dev user. Okay, so this is the developer one. Now, same way, I will close this. I will create another user, which is
Hi, Raman.
yeah.
So in real time, if the use environment creating user like this is not possible, so how we can implement Active Directory here?
So actually, in that case, if that is the Active Directory, basically you are going to create it into the some Windows server, right? So in Windows servers, basically you need to create that server. So that is a different case. This case is different. Active Directory, basically you are creating with the Windows server. So you need to create the Windows machine.
Even
And
in real time, we are using for Active Directory for both the Linux and sometimes we are using LDAP. So if that is the case, how you will configure here? Because we can't configure 1,000 users here, right? So that is a really headache.
no, so here the scenario is different. This is not related to your Active Directory or LDAP. This is related to your application wise. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the AWS users. These are not the users who are your Windows levels user. So these are the users which is you are creating on the basis of certain requirement. You are not creating for your Active Directory purpose. So if here we create the users, groups, and roles, 3 categories, and that you can do programmatically. You can run some commands. With the commands also you can create it, but here the scenario is different. So as I am giving you the scenario that there is a developer, there is tester, and there are some implementer. So I'm
Okay,
segregating. Yeah.
can I can understand, but see, example, if I am a database administrator, if I have a 500 database in my company, so all the servers are in the AWS. So if I want to manage, so how they will assign this
So
user to all the 500 servers? So that is my question. So that's what, is there anything in the through the group level you can configure?
okay, so you are saying you have the RDS, so you have some servers, and you want to maintain the users on database level.
No, not database level. So in AWS side, how the security, what you are doing here, so how you will manage with that one? So if I want to access the 500 server, so how can I do here?
Okay, so
So
in that case, I need to create the means in this steps I need to create the users manually. This is the one case. Second, you can create with the command lines, right? So where you are, so basically we need to create the user and assign to the databases, that database servers, so RDS servers.
yeah, but
Or if you want to create that kind of scenario where actually if I'm not can you repeat your question one more time?
see, the question is, see, if I'm managing 500 servers, so how can I access that 500 servers? So whatever here we are giving, we are creating manually users and we are creating manually group. But what current infrastructure normally in all the company? So they will add us, if I'm a database administrator, they will add me in the database administrator group. So
Right,
they will configure all the servers under that database administrator group. So if
right,
they assign my name into the database admin group, so I can manage all the 500 servers. So
right,
the same concept, if I want to do in AWS side, so how we can configure, because this one, yeah, whatever you were saying, I'm able to understand. So if we create a user and if we assign, so that is okay. This is a
right,
manual.
right. So this way only. See, even though whenever you are creating the database administrator, so first time you need to create that group and you need to assign uh, some permission to that group, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So same way, we are creating the group and we are assigning some policies to that particular group. And now, so say an example, you are a database administrator. So I will create one group which I'll say database administrator, and I will give the RDS level of permissions to that particular group. Now, for RDS full access, RDS read-only access, and now tomorrow, if there is a new joinee comes and he is a database administrator, so I will add that user into that particular group.
Okay. So automatically you no need to mention anything. So if example, if there is a two team and there is a 250 servers maintained by one team and another 250 servers in RDS maintained from some other team, so how you will differentiate with this difference? Because
Okay,
if you give
so
full access though, so then I can access all the 500 servers.
right, so basically here the concept of role comes.
Okay.
So one is basically the group level access, one is the role level access. So say an example, you are a database administrator and you are saying I want to give that role to that user I will create as a administrator, and I will put that user into that group, and now he can access the S3 or RDS in your case. He can access all the RDS. But
Okay.
roles are resource wise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so say an example, if I am saying I am creating role 1, which is a administrator, and but I have machine 1, and I will attach that role to that machine 1. So it means the role which is having the policies of administrative access is attached to that particular machine. So it means that machine will be accessed by that particular role. So in that case, we define the roles.
Okay, understand, Raman. Thanks for the explanation. And can you show me one example while
We will
assigning
do.
role into EC2?
Right, right. I will
Yeah,
I
okay.
will show you
Thanks.
that.
Thanks, Raman.
Yeah. So okay, so we are creating the tester, I believe. So username is tester, tester1 I will say, and it has the programmatic access. And I will say next permission. Okay, so I want to give it into the tester. Okay, next add the tag. If you want to add some tag is basically your email address or phone numbers. It is optional. Review it and create users. Okay, so again I will download this file, CSV file, and I will save it. So why I'm downloading it? Because I want that access key and the secret key. So which is basically you can say the username and password. So I can give it to them, and now I will say cut from here, and I will go to the paste. So I will call it tester. Okay, now third person. Okay, so someone has pasted Patrick. Okay, so now I want to create one more user. That will be our implementer. So I will call it the implementer 1. Okay, I don't want to give the programmatic access. I want to give the console access. And here the first password, whether it is auto-generated or you want to give the password, it is up to you. I want to go with the auto-generated password. And required password reset means next time when he sign in, so he has to change the password. Permission, I want to move it into the implementer role, tag, review, and create user. Okay, so now this also I will download it because it will have the password, and I will call it implementer. So I will show you what is in the file. Okay, so now, so these users get created. So now what I want to do, I want to connect to this user through program. Through program means through my AWS CLI or by using some Python program, Java program. So better we will use the AWS CLI. So what is AWS CLI? It is basically the command line interface. So you can go to your command prompt, and for that basically you need to install the Python. So to install the AWS CLI, if you want to connect with the AWS through the command line, you need to install the Python. So in my case, Python, I think it is installed. Yes, Python. So what you can do for you need to go to the official website of Python, python.org. And here you can see download Windows. If you are using Windows, if you are using Mac. So I'm using Windows. Now it is 3.8.0 version that you need to install, and it is in Windows, it is very straightforward wizard. You need to click next, and there is one option comes which says add to path. So you need to tick mark that. It will basically add it into your environmental variable. Once it is added, you can use Python from any place. And there is one more component which get added with the Python, that is pip, pip. So what I need to do, I need to run this command after Python installation, pip install AWS CLI. Okay, so what this command will do, it will install the AWS CLI on my system. So in my case, it is already installed. So that is why it is saying it is already satisfied the requirement. But in your case, it won't be the case. It will be the new installation. So it takes some time to install it. Okay, so now next, once it is installed, you need to write a command AWS configure. Okay, so that is for the programmatic access. So because my developer and the tester has the programmatic access. So when I say enter, it will ask for the user access key. So user access key is basically now which user you want to connect. I want to connect with the developer. Okay, so if I double click on this, and this is a CSV file, and here you can see the access key and the secret key. So I will use this access key. I will copy it and I will go to my command line, and here it is asking the access key. Now the secret key, this is the secret key. Next, it is asking the region. So currently, actually, basically what happens, there are some regions. So I will explain you that reason. Regions are nothing but there are some geographical area in in the world where the AWS data centers are available. So, say an example for India, it is in Mumbai. For America, there are different uh, regions are available. So there are total 20 regions all over the world, and each regions we have 2 availability zones. Okay, so 2 availability zones are nothing but your data center of AWS. So whenever you are creating an instance, it is basically get created under some regions. And if you want to see the regions, what are the regions are available, so you can simply say region name in the AWS. And here you can see, so I want to create a bucket in the North Virginia region. So here the name of the regions are given, all regions. So I want to create in S3 bucket we will discuss, but it is region wise. So I need to provide the region, and this code you need to use. So I'm creating in the Virginia region. So that's why I'm copying this and I will paste it here. Okay, date output format I'm just putting. Now basically with this AWS configure command, what I inform to the AWS CLI that I am connected with a dev1 user. Now if I say AWS S3 LS, so basically I'm just listing the buckets. So there is only one bucket available there. Now if you remember, my developer has the read and write access. It means it can read the S3 as well as it can create the bucket. So let me see whether it can create the bucket. So for that, I have some commands which is on my GitHub. So this command is basically going to create a bucket. Okay, so I am saying AWS S3 MB means make bucket S3, and the bucket name is this, I will say 56, and region is in the US East one, which is North Virginia. Okay, so the bucket get created. Okay, so if I go to my AWS and if I go to my services and if I go to my S3, so now you can see there is one bucket get created. Now because I had given the read and write access, so this is I'm taking one example of this S3, right? But S3 is a service in AWS. Same way as we were discussing RDS. RDS is a service, right? So you can use the command line, you can provide that user a particular access in that RDS, relational database system. So their user can be, can use the administrative, we can create the administrative account, we can create the read-only account, okay, depending upon the policy which we are attaching to that group. Now here here what we are doing, so we have seen that when we are connected with the AWS dev1 user which has the read and write access, he can create the bucket. Now I want to check with the tester. So if I say AWS configure and the access key, right? So for tester, so this is the access key. This is the secret key. Okay, and region US East 1, this is default. I have created. Now, if I say AWS S3 LS, it can read it. LS means I'm just listing. So, because it has the read access. Now I want to see the write access. So for that, I need to run this command. So let me create a bucket 561. So you can see access denied is the because it has only the read only access. So this way, basically these two users were, or these two groups are having the read and write access. So dev has the read and write access and tester has the only read only access. So that's why tester users are not able to create the bucket. Now third user is the implementer user, which does not have the programmatic access. So you will not find the access key and security key. So this is the implementer. So it has the password only. And this is the console link by which you can connect to that user. So if I say, if I copy this and if I go to my AWS service, so okay, so I will copy that link here. So with that link, we can directly connect to the implementer. Okay, so my username is implementer1, password. Password, we need to take it from here. This is the auto-generated password. Okay, sign in. Now we have given that option. Next sign in, it has to ask the password. So this is the password. This is the new password. I will give something which I can remember. Confirm, change. Okay. So now he can access the EC2 full access we had given. So now you can see, he can see the EC2 dashboard. You can go to instances. Okay, he can see the instances. He can launch the instances as well. That you can try it out. Now let me just check the what about S3. Okay, so access denied because he has only one access, that is the EC2 level access. So he cannot use any other service. So this way, but he is only using the console. He cannot use the programmatic access. Any question, any doubt up till here? Okay. Now let me talk about the roles. Okay. So before going to that, let me just come out of this. So here you can see implementer 1 is connected and Raja Sharma is basically the account name. So I'm signing out and now I'm signing into console. And I will log in with the root account. Okay, password. Okay, for MFA code, 1 second. Let me get my mobile. used. Okay, so now before creating the role, let me create one EC2 instance. So let me launch one instance. Okay, this is the Linux AMI. So this is Red Hat based only. So all the Red Hat commands will run over there. I'm selecting that all default things. Okay, I will select the existing and VPC server. Okay, take this one, review and launch. Launch, I will use this key, launch. Okay, and to use the programmatic access, you need to install the Python on this EC2 instance, and we will do that. So now what I want to do, I want to create a role which is associated with this particular machine. So I will call it AWS machine or server. Okay, so the benefit of AWS Amazon is that you can connect without PuTTY also. So they had given one option, which is the EC2 Instance Connect browser-based SSH, and we can connect. You need not to go to PuTTY and connect. So now there are several ways you can connect with the without PuTTY also. So here you can see it is browser-based SSH client. So if I say sudo su to connect with the root user, and if I say yum update, yum is basically a repository, and if I say yum update -y, so it will basically update my repository. So there are 93 updates. Okay, so here first I need to install the Python. So I will say yum install Python for the programmatic access. So it is already installed. Okay, so if I say Python version, okay, 2.7, no problem, that version will also work. If I say yum install Python -pip, okay, so pip command is used for installation of AWS CLI. So now I will say pip install AWS CLI. Okay, so now it is collecting the data and it is installed. Now if I say AWS configure, so now I am on the EC2 instance. Okay, so it is asking for the access key, and I can give any one of this. So I'll close this. I will take the dev1. So this is the access key. So I will copy and I will paste it here. Okay, secret key. This is the secret key. Okay, region name US East 1. Okay, and output format. Okay, so now you are basically logged in. If you say AWS S3 LS, okay, so you are basically logged in with the dev user. Now there is a problem now. The problem is that this particular machine is a Linux server, and Linux is a multi-user system. So it means multiple users can access this machine. And there is, whenever we write the AWS configure command, next time it does not ask the access key and secret key. Why? Because if I say /root ls minus la/root, there is a directory. It's a hidden directory which is AWS directory. And if I go to that directory /root/.aws, and here you can see two files. One is config file, one is credential file. And if I say cat config file, okay, so here it is having the region information. And if I say cat credential file, here it has the access key and the secret access key. So it means if you are using your own system on your laptop to connect to the AWS instance or AWS users, then it is fine because your system you are only going to use. But if it is the EC2 instance, then it is dangerous because multiple users are going to connect to with the same system, and they can use your access key and the secret key. So in that case, we use the role, and the roles are resource basis. Resource basis means you can apply the role for the RDS. You can apply the roles for the EC2 instances. So let me show to create this EC2 instance role. So let me first delete these two files. So if I say rm minus fr, okay, or minus f, and if I say config, and if I say credential, so now these two files get deleted. So if I say ls, there is no file, and if I say AWS S3 ls, so it does not find the credential because every time whenever I'm writing the AWS command, at that time I'm using that credential from these two files. But now these two files has deleted. Now what I will do, I will go and create the role. So I will go to my services, I will go to my IAM. Under IAM, you can see roles. Okay, so here we will create the IAM roles. So I will click on create role. So now you need to define on which service or resource you are going to create the roles. So all the services are available here. So I'm going to create it on the EC2 instance. Next, permission. So what role you want to provide to this particular machine? So I'm saying it will have the S3 full access or read-only access or whatever role you want to apply. Tags, which is optional, review it. And here you need to give the role name. So I'm saying S3 read-only. Not read-only, this is S3 full access. Okay, and now I will say create role. Okay, so there are a lot of roles I have created. So this is one of them which I have created. Now I will go back to my EC2. And here I will go to my instance, and to this instance I want to attach that role. For that, select this instance, go to your action and instance settings, and here you can see attach or replace IAM role. And here you need to select the role which you have created. We have created S3 full access. Okay, apply, close. Okay, now it is created. Now if I go to my EC2 instance, so this is my EC2 instance, and if I say S3, now that role is attached to my EC2 instance, means role has some permissions. So it has the S3 full access. Now if I run this command, now it is able to run without depending upon the user credentials. Is it clear? The difference between, I think, Vijay, you were asking, or?
Yes, Raman, it's clear.
Yeah, Slaven, yeah. Okay, so this way basically you are giving the permissions or policies to your roles, and that roles you are attaching to your services. Okay, so anyone has any question so far? Okay. Okay, so as of now I'm stopping as IAM role here, but IAM roles or users, uh, it has associated with almost uh, all of the services. So once we touch base the other services, there we will see how we create the roles. And sometimes that some services automatically create the roles. So depending upon that, what type of service you are using. Okay. Okay. Now I want to go back to the S3. So I will go back to my storage. So under storage, you can see S3. Now here, what I want to show you, that as in normal Windows or your Linux, you have directory. Under that directory, you have subdirectories, files. Same way, if you want to store the data into the AWS, then the recommended way is the S3, because it stores the data on the object level, and objects are nothing but the subfolders or your files. These all are called objects. In S3 we store the data in the form of buckets. So we have buckets, and in that bucket is basically the top level your directory. So you can create multiple buckets, and under that bucket you can have the files and folders. So as you can see in your SharePoint, right, you can store the data, you can store the files. But S3 is very smart. S3 is not only for the storage purpose, even though you can host a website on the S3. Host a website means, say an example, and it hosts only the static website, not the dynamic website. So can anybody tell me what is the difference between static website and dynamic website?
No links, no dynamic links.
Yeah. So like your HTML page, that is a static. Okay. And where you have some programming associated with your code, like Java or .NET or Python, where you have username, password. So that is basically dynamic kind of a programming. But if you have a static HTML page, you can host it on the S3 as well. So let me first create the bucket and store the files, and then we will see how to host a website. Okay, so here basically what we do, we create the bucket. So to create the bucket, you need to click on the create bucket, and here you can give the bucket name. So bucket name should be unique. Okay, unique in the sense not only in your not only on your account, but it should be universally unique. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the bucket name. So I will say test, and this is, if I say test Raman, let us see. So this is looks like, so, and buckets we create the region wise. So I'm creating the under the same region, which is North Virginia. Okay, US East. Okay, and if you want to copy the settings from existing bucket, then you can select that bucket, but I'm not going to do. So these two buckets has been created. I'm clicking on next, and this is saying this bucket is already exist. So I will give bucket name as test Raman 123. Okay, now in the S3 buckets, you can maintain the versioning. So what is version? What is version? Anyone? Version control. Are you going
When
have you
changes are
right?
being done, then we can have different versions of the files.
Right. So if you have one, say an example, you have file 1, and in that file 1 you make some changes and you want to keep the previous changes as well as the new changes, then you need to use any version control system. One of the most popular is the Git, Bitbucket, Subversion Control System, TFS. So there are a lot of version control system. But in S3 also, we can maintain the versions of the objects. Okay. So if you want to make the versions of the object, you need to tick mark this. Server access logging means if you want the log, so logs means whenever the server is accessed, at that time there is some log entries get created. So you want to create that log files and store it into the S3, then you need to tick mark this. I don't prefer this until unless it is required, because the files get created and there is a limit in S3, I think 5 terabyte. After that it is chargeable, and this is something which is until unless you plan it, don't use this option. Any key value pair you want to track the cost, you can put it. I'm not using that. Permission, you want S3 is to be blocked to public level, or you want to give the access. I want to give the access because I want my website is to be accessible by everyone. Review and create bucket. Now inside this there is no bucket, no object. So if you want to upload a file, just go and upload a file. So you need to drag and drop a file, or you can just go to add files. Okay, so if you want to we can keep any file. So this ABC file I will copy it, and we can set the permissions. Okay, so Means object level permissions, read, write permission to this my owner. Yes, I want to give. This is the life cycle. Basically, there are different storage classes in S3, like your depends upon your means file age. If you want after 30 days, it should be in the infrequent access. After 90 days, it should be in archive. So as of now, I'm not going in that detail. I simply says upload. Okay, now file is copied. So this file is copied. Now if I go click on this file, so this file you can download it, and there is a URL for that file as well. If you want to make it public, click on make public. And if I, in this file, test is written. Now this is public file. So what will happen that if I give this URL to you also, if I give it on the chat window, even though you can see my file, you can download my file. So you can try it out. You can see that the same content you can see as well. All right. Now let me create one HTML file, and that file I want to host it into my S3 bucket. So for that, what I will do, I will create one HTML file. So I will go to ctemp. I don't have ctemp. Okay, I will go to E. Here I will create a file, new test document. I will call it, I'm creating h1 tag or HTML/HTML and slash page. Okay, so I will save this as a index.html page. Okay, now I want to create one more page, which is actually I did not write any body. Let me write the body. H1. This is the landing page. Okay, I'll save it. Now I will create one more page, which is the error page. So in case if there is an error, so I'm saying error in the website, please contact straight. Okay, and I want to save this as I call it error.html. Okay, so these two files get created. One is index, one is error. Now I will move these files into my S3 bucket first. So I will go to my bucket. Okay, and I will upload these two files. And I am uploading this. Okay, so these two files get uploaded. Now I will go to properties, and here you can see static website hosting. I click on this, and here use the bucket to host the website, and here any file name you can write. So my file name is index.html, and if there is an error, my file name is error.html. These two files should be in your bucket. Okay, and this is the URL or endpoint by which you are going to see the website. So I'll save it. Okay, again I will go here. I will copy this and I will paste it on the. Okay, so I think my file is not public. Let me just make that public. So I will go to my S3. So these files, make public. Okay, same with the other file because I want to use it for the error purpose. Okay, if I refresh this, okay, so you can see my landing. This is my landing page, which is my index.html file. And if I give something wrong here, say 34, enter. Now error page comes up and it says error in the website. Please contact the administrator. Is it clear to everyone how to host a website? And let me give this page to you. Now, if I give this URL to you, you can try it on your system, whether you are able to see this page or not. Can anybody confirm? Okay, Anjana says yes, she can see that. Okay, Patrick also can see that. Okay, so now it means my website is publicly available. Anyone can see it. So if you want to, yeah, Julius also says yes. So basically, if you want to host a website, you need a domain name, you need a web server, a lot of things you need, right? So, but here it is very easy. You just need the S3. Now you can see S3 is not only for the storage, S3 is also for the website hosting, but here only the static websites. And one more thing is that if you buy a domain name, in that case, that is of your choice. But here it is not of your choice. It is something which is provided by the S3. So that is the other difference. But if you want to test something, your HTML level something, you can use the S3 for that. All right. So I want to give one more demo, which is quickly how to connect to the RDS, Relational Database System. Then we can wind up. Actually, I just touch base some important topic of S3, not completely, because I want to show you that RDS also. Then it will be a few things you can know at least with this demo. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my services, and there is a database. So database, here you can see RDS. So RDS is nothing but relational database system, where you can create the databases like MySql, SQL Server, MariaDB. Okay, almost 6 databases supported by the AWS. So here what you need to do, we will create a database. Okay, so what type of database you want to create, you need to select. So these are the options, which Oracle is also one of them. So I want to create a MySQL database, and I want that, or there is a requirement from the development team that, or the database team, they want to migrate their database into the AWS, and for that I'm going to help them to create the MySQL database. Those who knows the database well, they know that how to use the database, create the table, and you know insert the record, select the records. So for that I'm just selecting. You can select any one of this, but I'm selecting the MySQL. Now you want which version of the MySQL you want to use, you can select from this list. I am going to use the free tier here because I want to use for the testing purpose. Okay, the database, when you connect to a database, you give a database instance. So whatever the instance you want to give, I'm giving the test or test one. What is the username you want to select? This is my username. Password, so I want to give my own password. Okay, you cannot use @ or single quote. Okay, so I'm giving that password. The database size, because I'm using the free tier, so it is limited. So it is the 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM, no EBS, 20 GB is the allocated, and threshold goes to 1000 GB. I'm saying 30 GB because I'm not going to store data as of now. And this is the default VPC. VPC is nothing but my virtual private cloud. I'm saying that is fine. Database authenticated option, password with the password I'm connecting. And I'll say create the database. And this is the free, that 12 months it is free, 750 hours, 20 GB. SSD you can select. I'll say create database. Okay, now it is, you can see the test one database is getting created. So it takes some time. It takes it depends that it takes 5 to 10 minutes. So here you can see the status. It is saying creating. So meanwhile, what I will do, I have my EC2 instance. Okay, so probably this get disconnected now. So I will come back to this and I will go to my EC2 instance, and from that EC2 instance I will connect to my database. So this is my running instance, and here I will say connect with the web browser, and that is only applicable for Amazon Linux One machine. So they recently activated this option. So what I will do, I will install MySQL on my machine. So whenever you are connecting to a AWS database, you need some client to be installed. So AWS machine, I'm using MySQL client. So I'll say sudo su, and what I will do, I will say yum install MySQL. Okay, do you want to install? Yes. So now MySQL is getting installed. And to connect to MySQL, first my RDS server should be up. And how to connect with the server. So there is a connection string which we need to use to connect to the database. Let me just copy this. Okay, so MySQL, and this is the endpoint, and that endpoint we can get it from the AWS. So let me go back to my RDS and see whether it is get created or not. Okay, I'll go to my databases. So it is still creating. So let's wait for that. Actually here, if I go to the test one, there will be one endpoint get created. And there is a port 3306, which is for the MySQL. Okay, so because it is in the creation mode, that is why it is. So it is in backing up status now. Okay, we don't have any other option to wait. Just need to wait for this. It is taking time. Okay, so meanwhile we'll discuss this. So this is your MySQL. Then -h means your host. My host is your endpoint. Okay, then my -p means port. Port 3306 it uses to connect to the database. -u is username, which is admin, and -p is the password which we have provided during the during that database creation. I don't know. And once you create the database, this RDS, after testing, delete it because it is chargeable, especially uh, the other version which is not free tier. Yeah, let me refresh this. Okay, now it is available. So available means it is created. Now let me note down that. So I will click on this and I will use this endpoint. So I will copy it. Okay. And what else? We'll see this security group. It should be have 3306 port is to be opened. So I believe in case if it is not open, it will not connect. So I think this is already I have created these groups for that purpose only. So now what I will do, I will go to my EC2 instance. So my EC2 instance, I will go to the EC2 because that got disconnected. This is my running instance. And I will connect. Sudo su, and here I will run that command, this command. I will modify this command by using this endpoint. Okay, so I will paste it here. So here password, which password we had given. Okay, now I am connected to that server, my RDS server. Now from here I can do whatever you want to do. So if you say show databases, you can see the databases. You want to create database, create database, say test. So database created, use test. So I'm inside the test database. Now if you want to create the table, create table. Table name say student, and you want to create ID int comma name, which is text. Okay, two fields I want to create. Table get created. If you want to insert the record, insert into student values. I want to insert 1 comma, say Raj, semicolon you need to add in the end. Same command, insert into 2, say Raman. Okay, so 2 records I have created. If I say select asterisk from student, you can see the records. So this way, basically, now this data is getting stored into the RDS. So I'm using the RDS, which is in the AWS. If you want to exit, simply say exit. Anyone has any question, any doubt, the topics which I have discussed?
I don't have any doubt, but how can we get the recordings that we can view one more time? Or because when you go to the site, it's not the same recording that you see.
Yeah, so recording, actually, they asked me to record the session. I press the recording. So it is getting recorded. So I will share it. So for that, I don't know means how they will share with you, but I will share with them and they probably share with you.
And because probably from what we got from Rajesh, they usually put, they select just one of the recordings to put on the site. But, it might not be the same. Things covered
Uh,
can be the same. So,
this recording will have the same whatever we have discussed.
yes, please do that. We should have the recordings, we should be able to view this recording at least one more time.
Right.
And if we can have access also to the commands that you have in your Bitbucket.
So that I will give you. That is basically, I will give you that commands.
Okay.
So there are a lot of commands, not only related to the topics which we have discussed. So I will give you, this is my GitHub repository.
Okay.
So I'm giving on the chat window.
All right.
So you can, it's a publicly available. So you can
Yeah.
use that repository.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone has any question? Otherwise we can wind up.
So our next class, we're still continuing with AWS.
That schedule, I am not sure, but in my schedule list, it is next class. I don't know whether it is for your batch or some other batch. For me, it is a Docker class.
So this is all about AWS. We're not going to talk about VPC, load balancing, or auto scaling.
So actually, that all topics are, the time was very short. So all topics was not get covered. So it's basically I tried to cover the topics which I think that it is more useful. Actually, other useful topic is VPC and load balancer also.
Yeah.
But because of the shortage of time, within 3 hours, I think that is too much.
So that's it for our batch. We will not be covering VPC and auto scaling and
That probably I'm not sure, because actually in the syllabus they had given all that topics also, VPC and load balancer, EFS. There are a lot of topics. So but as this 3 hours, even as I am telling you, this is the first time I'm taking the class for this training center.
okay.
And so I don't know, means whether the rest of the topics will be covered by me or someone else will cover it.
Okay.
But
I will talk to Matosh.
yeah, you can talk to Mentosh. All right, that's it for the day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Good night.
Thanks, Raman. Good night.
Bye.